Welcome to Truly Heal and our video of being scared, afraid to take action, afraid to speak up against your doctor, not knowing what to do next, what will help, being scared of choosing the wrong pathway, the wrong treatment, the wrong therapy, the fear of not having enough money to pull through the disease, to be able to afford all the different therapies and treatments, being scared of making the wrong choice, the wrong decision, buying things that don't work. And I found it paralyzing when you look at a disease, but you've already witnessed other people going through. See, the very first fear I would like to talk about today is the fear of death and suffering, the fear of loss. And we've all seen people who had cancer and perished. And usually the pathway is not pleasant to see. It can be very painful, and the end can be very detrimental, shocking, scary for many. And if you had a mum or father or uncle or anyone die of cancer, you know what I mean. I found actually disease that has an end, like a terminal disease like cancer, not as bad as Lyme disease, which is an endless suffering. You know, like I know people that 5, 6, 7 years haven't been able to work, laid at home, extreme pain in their nerves, tingling everywhere. They have feeling, ants are crawling through their body. They can't stand the light, they can't stand up, their whole dynamic motoric is disappearing. You know, that's scary, and it's not a terminal disease. It doesn't kill you, it just makes your life a living hell. ALS, a friend of mine, had bacterial overgrowth in his teeth and in his gut, which then broke through into the brain and it caused ALS. And when you look at he's laying in bed, the only thing he can still move is his eyes, and he types on the computer on a screen with his eyes, emails to me, and I've been visiting him. And you know, when you realize what a lively person he was, how much life and passion he had, and now he can't even move his fingers anymore. Use that fear that we experience from a diagnosis, from an event like that, as a motivation. So you can get paralyzed and just get stuck with that fear and there is no solution, it's a terminal disease, and you believe what the media tells you and what conventional medicine tells you. And that's scary. That is really scary. So don't go that way. My wife said I'm not the perfect person to speak about fear because I don't have a lot. And I don't know why, but if I see a problem or if I see something that needs to be resolved, well, then let's look for a solution. And that's always been me. So I've used always fear as an opportunity to transform into a better outcome. And that's what happened 18 years ago when they all said there is no solution. And when the only solution that was there killed my friend, we decided to go on a quest. And I said, even if the brightest minds in this world don't find a solution, I will. And I keep going and I keep at it until I do. And that was a promise that I made. And it took a long time to fiddle through all those different sides and detours, you know, like promise here, promise there, promise here. And you always follow them, and then you realize, oh, that was a detour that didn't work, until you get back to actually on track what you need to do. Took a long time. And if you don't have that time, I would like to shorten yours by sharing what I've learned. And that's one of those. So don't get stuck with fear. Use your fear to drive your vigilance. Everything that you hear, take with a grain of salt. Research, is there evidence? Is there published research studies? And if they say, oh, that will never be researched because the government prohibits, it's not true. Most of the very successful treatments have research studies. They have been used for years in China, in Japan, in Germany, in Russia. They have tons of papers, they have tons of research because they have proven to work. And then you have many of the treatments that you hear say that works and that cures, and there is no research. Well, there is a reason for it, because they couldn't prove that it worked. So be careful. Use your fear of survival and the fear of suffering as vigilance, sharp mind, research, study. We believe in short-term results because we want to. We're so desperate that we believe almost everything someone tells us. I was recently at a workshop and they said you just need to drink 2 little swigs, 2 little cups of this drink, and then you can eat gluten. It repairs your leaky gut and you can drink. Do you know that the whole room was lining up and bought bottle after bottle, 20 packs? Me too. I did too. I thought, well, if that works, that's the best solution in the world. I'm going to become filthy rich by selling it, and I tried it out, didn't work. Tried it with friends, didn't work. Tried it with 10 other friends, didn't work. Sold a few bottles, and they came back and said, can I return it and get my money back? It didn't work. We believe because we want to believe, but not because it's true. So vigilance, very, very important. You want to address that. Then we have the fear of relationship. And I'm not talking about relationship with your spouse and husband. That might be strained through the disease, but it really is something that you can resolve quite easy. Sometimes it's important to care more for yourself and care less about others. Realize that? Let me just put my iPad down and explain that. You have 2 sides. You have you being all for others, doing all their jobs, doing all their tasks, looking after them, everything. And then you have ego on this side, completely egotistic. It's all for me. I need to look after myself. Well, there is a middle. And that middle is usually where you ask for their help, where you ask them to take over some of your chores and jobs so that you can focus on what you need to focus on. Whether that's better cooking or better study or learning or yoga or exercise or something, something that helps. And get them involved. Explain what you study, explain what you do, share what your research shows so that they get involved. Communication is very, very important in this stage. And the fear of relationship is also important in regards to your doctor. Don't go into confrontation, battles and fights and say, look, I don't want what you tell me. Just always say, thank you so much for all your help and support. I will take it under advice and I will have a second opinion. I still feel there's something that I miss out on, and just keep on going. And you will find that by not confronting people, not opposing them, or maybe not caring so much about their opinion, but looking for yourself, you will find a better way. I find that a big solution with relationship is that we communicate our efforts in the interest of the other. So if your doctor comes with good advice, don't be mad. He learned nothing else. That's what he learned. That's what he's trained to do. So thank him for his support and help, and tell him that you will look for some possibilities, some secondary advice. And if he gives you someone to go to for secondary advice, take that, say thank you very much, and then still go where you want. See, I perfected that method. I don't confront anyone, but I do what I want. And this is what helps you to stay out of trouble, out of confrontation, out of difficulties, but still achieve the result that you want. Okay, now the next fear is intellectual fear, and that's a pretty tough one. Who am I to find a solution if the brightest minds in this world can't find one? Well, I took on that task. I actually said, I will find a solution no matter what, and I won't give up until I have it. 15, 18 years ago. That was my resolution. Oh, it was a tough journey. And I have to tell you, I was going on every detour, tried everything with no results, little results, so that I was really frustrated. But we came in the end to finding what works and how to determine what works for each individual person. And that's what changed then into functional medicine, how to find the root causes. And I'll explain that a little bit later or in a video tomorrow in great detail. But it is important that you don't get intimidated by titles, authorities. Doctors are just human beings. And when you interview 1, 2, that's cool, but I've interviewed 100. And I realized they all have their strength, they all have their weakness, they all have certain things they focus on very much and ignore other things. And those solutions that they provide work for some, but not for all. And Dr. Anderson said it really nice. He said, Marcus, we try our whole arsenal. We try everything. We try every single treatment that we have, and we, hope that one will work. And if one works, we stick to it and we intensify and we go for it, because not everybody responds to the same. And I found that very honest, very beautiful, the way he said it. It was not arrogant, we can achieve that. It's like we find sometimes the right results. And if we do, we're happy about it. So don't think a doctor has all the knowledge. They need to ask you, how did the treatment go? How did it work? How do you feel? Do you have any improvements? Nice. So why don't you do that yourself? I found that when I listen to my body and listen to myself, and we train that with our coaching clients and with our clients, if I eat that food, how does it make me feel? Do I have more energy and could go for a walk, or do I need to lay down? Do I have a bright mind afterwards, or get I dull and can't focus and concentrate? Do I need to have a nap? When I come from a different environment with different people, do I feel afterwards sucked dry and exhausted, or do I feel uplifted and energized? Little things make up a massive cure. It's the food that you eat, it's the supplements that you take, it's the treatments that you do that will either make you feel good or bad. So by listening to those things and really carefully approaching them, we can have much better results than having that one cure that we can market the hell out of it and get very rich, which everybody tries to achieve. Whether it's an ointment, a drink, or whether it's a remedy, everybody just tries to find that solution which they can then sell to millions of people. That's not how health works. Social fear is usually about isolation. When you have a disease, you don't feel you belong to the healthy community, which is very rare. There's very few that are really healthy. So don't be mistaken, they all have a problem. They just don't have that name for it yet. So you feel isolated from that community. Maybe pain, suffering, Lyme disease will limit you in action, which means you're pulled away. And then the other problem is healthy people usually don't want to see unhealthy people, visit them, be with them. First of all, they don't, we are entertainment community. We want to hear happy things, cool things, great things, achievements, all the wow things, not the complaining about all the problems. So that's one part. And secondary, they're confronted with their own mortality, with their own disease possibility. I could have that too. If I get close, I could get it. Or if I focus my mind too much on it, I could get it. So it doesn't matter what the fears are. They have fears just as anybody else. And that is something that isolates. So what my solution for that has been all the time, finding communities which have a passion for something. If you ask someone how to cook healthy, and they go like, oh, I don't know, I need to eat that stupid kale salad and do the juicing, and it's horrible. Would you work with that person? Do you feel inspired by that person? No. But if you come to someone like me recently who said, oh, we have a recipe for a kale salad with cilantro, and it's delicious, it's so incredible, I can't imagine that can be true. But the passion that person radiated, and she made me eat it, and I actually loved it. So would I like to learn from that person? Yes. Would I like to be with that person for a cooking class? Yes. So always look for that, and once you find that, stick to it, because it will give you that possibility to be inspired by their passion for life and by their health. Fear of commitment. I don't see that really as a fear. Being too fine for treatment, it's not really a fear either. Some people come to me and say, I'm not going to have anything plugged up my butt, especially males. No rectal enema, no insufflation, no thermometer. It's not, I'm not doing it. I usually conquer and say, well, then just go home and prepare for death and do whatever you want, but don't come back and complain about your disease. If you're too fine to do those treatments, well, then life must not be worth living. Usually their jaw drops and they look at me and go like, wow, like I expected a different response. They're trained to get more attention, that people talk and talk and talk and try to talk them into treatments. Forget about that. If they don't have enough will to live, not enough passion to live, not enough motivation to live, well then let them do what they want. You will find that by pushing them away, they want what you have. By trying to get them what you have, they will refuse. It's like me, if I am told, do that, it helps, then I go, really? I have to? No. If they say, you can't have it, it's only for special people, oh, then I really want it. We need to convert that rule, and that's more for health supporters, caregivers, doctors, naturopath practitioners, coaches. Don't ever try to convince someone to do it. Just say, if you're too fine to it, just don't come back and complain about your problem. You obviously don't want to live. See, the fear of commitment has, for me, a lot to do with reasons to live. If you have no money, you have a crappy relationship, you have a shitty job, you have no fun, no passion, no joy, no hobby, no nothing that drives you. You don't really have a lot of education and your social environment sucks. Well, why would you want to live longer? Why would you extend life? So for me, in this case, it's not so much about finding the right treatment, but rather to find what drives that person. What kind of passion could we, allow them to live? A lot of people have lost passion for life. They live every day, doing their duties, lost all connection to beauty. And that can be detrimental. And then disease is a way out. So don't try to buy or sell health to someone who doesn't want it. Rather find what sparks them, what inspires them, what makes them tick, what brings sparkles to their eyes. And when you have it, then you motivate with that. You can have more of that. We can plan that. We can actually enjoy that. This will help a lot more than trying to sell them a treatment. Financial fear. That's a big one, right? Do I invest the money wisely? Do I buy what really works? Do I have treatments that might be just all wasting my money and then they don't work? A lot of people have been to clinics, spent $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, came back home and still have Lyme disease because they went with a false expectation, complete false mindset. So really, financial fear is a very, very big one. And I will address that in tomorrow's video. The day after tomorrow, you will get it really intensely, because this is one of my biggest ones too. If you would say, Steve Jobs had a lot of money and he still couldn't save himself. He could buy all the treatments in the world and still didn't make it. Then take that as a starting point for your thoughts. Health is not something you can buy, and you can't buy it by the dozen, and you can't go into a clinic and say, make me well in 3 weeks. It just doesn't work that way. Because look, what we've come to learn in the past, let's say 10 years, because the first 5 years was wasted in chasing cures. The next 10 years was learning to where we are now today. And what we've discovered is you have 5 reasons to be sick. First of all, ongoing stress, chronic stress, ongoing stress that can be relationship stress, that can be work stress, financial stress, something that really drags you down. And then from that stress, you go into deficiencies. Your body has massive deficiencies. We live in the land of plenty. We're starving to death. The food that we eat has no nutrients. We don't absorb them. Our gut doesn't break them down. We use up too many of those minerals to break down toxins. So we flush them out, but we don't replenish. That's a huge problem. So then we have high toxicity level, actually the highest ever. What we consume, what we eat, the way we dress, the clothes that we put on, everything is highly toxic. Synthetics are so toxic. If you would know, you would never ever in your whole life wear them. especially not when you've witnessed a loved one dying from toxicity. So liver toxicity, drama in the world. So, but that's all the causes. And then we have infections, co-infections, bacterial overgrowth, all of that. So that's the problems. And then we have on the other side all the things that make us healthy, like outdoors, like exercise, like sunshine, vitamin D, fresh air, swimming in cold water, then heating up in the sun. The parallels, hyperthermia, hypothermia, 2 treatments used in cancer therapy. So going swimming in a cold river, in a cold lake, is actually super healthy. And then warming up in the sun, absorbing vitamin D3, having good nutrition to it, having good food to it, having exercise, having a nice community around. That's the things that makes us healthy, right? So now, when you are unhealthy, when you have all of those, does that work? No, it can't. You can't do all the exercise. You can't enjoy life because your brain is dull. Everything doesn't work. Deficiencies, just a few oils that you lack and your brain doesn't work. So we can't enjoy life if we don't fix here. And that's why we start fixing here as much as we can. And the more we move towards the center, the more we implement those things and improve them and increase and get more and more life, more and more joy, more and more passion into our life. And when they overlap, we're healthy. And that's when disease usually vanishes on its own. So that's the process. And that's what you can do financially independent. Listen to what your body tells you. What are the things that make me happy? And then use the treatments that focus on the root causes of the root causes of the root causes. I hate it when they always say the root of the root cause. We don't deal with inflammation. Inflammation is already the secondary problem because you have leaky gut causes inflammation. You have infections causes leaky gut inflammation. You have toxicity causes inflammation. You have deficiencies causes inflammation. So inflammation is already the secondary problem. So taking curcumin and all of those anti-inflammatories doesn't really work if you don't address the root problem. They might work short term, but not long term. If you have toxicity, that is a root problem that you need to deal with, not the effects that it has, like skin eczema and psoriasis and all gut problems and pimples and leaky gut. That's secondary problems from toxicity, which is the first. So what we've learned is focusing on that base treatment makes treatment so much easier. See, we achieve much greater results by focusing on 5 things instead of focusing on an individual pathology. And that's where financial fear is actually helpful. You don't invest money into all sorts of things that deal with the pathology but not with the root problem. A sauna is really easy. If you don't have one, you can go into a fitness studio and have sauna there 3 times a week. And a membership is not that expensive. If you need ozone treatment, it's a penny treatment if you look at it over a period of months. There's so many solutions that you can do. If you hypothermia and you can't have that treatment in a dome at home, you can do it in a bathtub. There's many ways to achieve the same results. And with less money, you take more action. With less money, you pass on less responsibility to someone else. And that's why financial fear is actually a great thing which we can use to our advantage to make many little things into a massive cure. And that brings me to my last one, the fear of action. I could make a mistake. And I don't want to go too deep into it because I will address that in my next video very intensely. Making a mistake is what stops a lot of people doing treatments. I have people that come to me and say, Marcus, I bought the dome from you 3 years ago. We haven't used it yet because we were not sure if we make something wrong. Other people would die for a treatment, would want it, would do it immediately, but they don't have the money to buy it. And you have it sitting around for 3 years and don't use it. And you miss out on the opportunity of being well. After 3 years of doing this, you would have such results. But that's how it is. Fear of making a mistake. And I will explain you tomorrow or the day after in my video, really, really detailed, how to approach step by step, very gently, the treatments and make them safe. Keep all side effects under control. observe all contraindications, supplement in the right way, support the treatment in the right way, so that when you do it, you will find that the transformation is almost instantaneous. So let me cover that in the next video so that I really give you an insight on the opportunities that you actually have to address the root causes of the problem, to use your fear as a real great motivation to solve your problems, and also to find out how to make many little treatments into a massive recovery. And that's my passion. That's what I want to share with you. See, every time we have an aha moment, it feels like, oh, finally I got that clarity, and you want to share that with the world. And that's what I will do in my next video. And you will be very, very excited to learn what you can do at home in simple ways to achieve incredible results. Okay? See you in the next video.